Good morning, Britons. Hope you are having a fabulous Friday morning. Um, I corrected your homework, and I've noticed that many of you have misconceptions when it comes to covalent bonding. So I decided to give you a review of the lesson that we had in week 1. Okay, so if you want to follow the PowerPoint, you can find this in Schoology under week 1, lesson 2. If you open up the PowerPoint and just follow it with me as I go through it. Now, before we start learning about covalent bonding, okay, first of all, these are the learning objectives or the things that we needed to be able to achieve by the end of the lesson that we had. Now, the first thing that we needed to know the type of atoms that form covalent bond. Okay, the second type is we need to describe how it actually forms, and we need to be able to describe the type of covalent bonds group elements in group 5, 6, and 7 made. Okay, now this last learning objective is where I set you a homework task, which was homework 1, and I've noticed that many of you are still having a trouble determining the type of covalent bonds group 5 and 6 and 7 make. Okay, so first things first. So what we need to do is we need to have a look at the definition of a molecule. Now, what we studied in term 2 is that when two atoms join together chemically, they are called a compound or a diatomic element. Okay. Now, when non-metal atoms join together, okay, they are joined together by covalent bonding. Now, this covalent bond does not involve the movement of electrons. Actually, electrons are shared. Okay. Now, what is a molecule? A molecule is a neutral group of atoms which are held together by covalent bonds. Now, pay attention to the word neutral. Neutral means it has no charge. Unlike ions, okay, molecules do not carry a charge. Okay, the number of protons and electrons remain the same throughout. Okay. Molecules are only made through non-metal atoms joining together. If you look at the next PowerPoint, you will see that we have 3 different examples of a molecule. So here we have H2O. Okay, now H2O is not an element, it's a compound, because you can see there are 2 different types of atoms. Okay, however, molecules can also be found in atoms. Okay, for example, in non-metal atoms, which form diatomic molecules, which is oxygen, I believe, nitrogen and hydrogen, and chlorine, fluorine, etc. Okay, notice that molecules can be found in compounds and elements. Okay, but they need to be non-metals. Right, now, if we move on to the next stage of our lesson, before we move on, I want you to have a look at your periodic table, and I want you to determine which of the following is actually a molecule. So I want you to pause this video for a second and tell me which of the following is a molecule. So pause this video, and I want you to think about it and then check your answer in the next clip. Now, if we look at this, H2 is the only element here. The only molecule here. Ki is made up from a metal and non-metal. Sodium is actually a metal. Hydrogen is a non-metal. However, as we know, a molecule has to be 2 atoms or more joined together. Okay, so in conclusion, H2 is a molecule. All right, H on its own is not a molecule. Okay, so that's the first concept that you need to understand. If we move on, all right. So, how does covalent bond happen? All right. As we know, elements from groups 1 to 7 are unstable. They do not have a full outer shell. Okay. Now, that's why we end up having chemical bonding, because atoms are always striving to make their outer shell happy. What you need to know about covalent bonding, that it only involves nonmetals. Okay? Nonmetals react together so that they fill the last outer shell and become stable. In the case of nonmetals only, what they do is that they share electrons. Okay? And when they share electrons, they become bonded together, and this is what we call covalent bonding. Always remember, ionic, they move. Covalent, they share. Ionic involves metal and non-metal. Covalent only involves non-metal. Okay? Now, the first example that we need to look at is hydrogen. Now, hydrogen, many of you would say it's in group 1, therefore it's a metal. However, hydrogen, yes, it's in group 1, but it's a non-metal. Okay? Now, hydrogen only has one energy level. And if you recall studying this in term 2, the first energy level can only hold 2. Okay? Hydrogen has only one energy level. It only has one electron in its last shell, or the only shell that it has, because it's in group 1. But because it only has one electron, that makes hydrogen chemically unstable. What it needs to do, it needs to share one electron with another hydrogen, okay? And each one of them will share one electron, okay? So this hydrogen will go and share its only electron with another hydrogen to make their outer shell happy. So here, okay, here what we have is this hydrogen now has 2 electrons, and this hydrogen has 2 electrons. Now, when electrons join together, when each atom shares 1 electron, we call this type of bonding single. Okay, so each atom will share 1. Okay, 2 in total. So if they share 1 electron each, 2 in total, we call this single covalent bond. Okay, now let's have a look at another example. Sorry. Let's have a look at chlorine here. Okay. Chlorine is similar to hydrogen. It forms a single bond. Here, chlorine has 7 electrons in its outer shell, and this chlorine has 7 electrons in its outer shell. Both of them need to have 8 electrons. Okay. So what will happen here, each chlorine will share 1 electron each, okay, which makes it 2 in total. Okay, that means that chlorine has single bond. Okay. Let's have a look at another example. Here we have oxygen, okay? Now, if you look in your periodic table, I want you to find the group in which oxygen belongs to, okay? So which group does oxygen belong to? Okay, if you can pause this video for a second, go to your periodic table, and I want you to find the group in which oxygen belongs to.